Good morning to the leadership of Payne Theological Seminary, past and present, who have shaped this institution in our formation, to the faculty and staff who continue the work, to my distinguished women of color ministry and marketplace mentors and cohort, and to all of my fellow Doctor of Ministry peers. It is an honor to share my personal reflection with you today. When Jesus healed the blind man at Bethsaida in Mark 8, the miracle unfolded in two stages. After the first touch, the man said, I can see people, but they look like trees walking. His vision was partial, shapes without clarity, movement without meaning. Only after the second touch did he see everything clearly. I came to Payne Theological Seminary with partial vision. I could see my calling, but the contours were blurred. I saw leadership, but it looked like borrowed categories. Educator who preaches, administrator who pastors. Even as first vice president of the Women's Baptist Educational and Missionary Convention of South Carolina, I was leading within prescribed boundaries. I saw my gifts, but they seemed fragmented, disconnected, like trees walking. My cohort mentors gave me the second touch. When I earned my first doctorate in 2013, my desire to amplify my spiritual development and leadership was deeply personal. I knew my calling was executive support to senior pastors in spiritual formation, not the senior pulpit itself, but the work of forming spiritual lives behind the scenes. Having already experienced the breadth and depth of my voice on transformation in K-12 and higher education, I felt a personal mandate to become as fluent in theology as I was in educational leadership. As my husband and senior pastor, Dr. Napoleon Bradford, introduced me to Black women in ministry occupying unique leadership spaces at the perfecting place where I serve as co-pastor, I began searching for a program that would allow me to merge sacred and secular for transformational impact. From our research, no such program existed until one day I was scrolling Instagram and I stumbled upon a woman I'd been following, but whose ministry I did not yet know, Dr. Carrie Turner. I saw the recruitment flyer and jumped on a call with hundreds of other women seeking mentorship and community. Upon entering the program, Dr. Carrie Turner, Dr. Jamal Bryant, and Dr. Donnell Moore welcomed me just as I am, multi-gifted, multi-talented, and they saw the cracks, the crevices, and the crevasses that needed addressing and nourishing. As a lifelong daughter of the Baptist tradition in South Carolina, there were minimal opportunities to use my spiritual gifts and leadership beyond women's ministry or Christian education. While I respected these lanes, I knew my calling was different. It didn't demand a megachurch pulpit or a national preaching circuit, but rather the forming of spiritual lives. My gifts had borne fruit over 25 years, from the classroom to leading teams at the State Department of Education. Well, from day one, Dr. Neville Owens dismantled our assumptions about liberation theology with, is God a white racist? Or does the Black church care about liberation? Dr. Evans confronted us with the gendering of early Christianity, demanding we grapple with the church fathers' attitudes towards women and their elevation of virginity over marriage. Dr. Harris immersed us in the textual worlds of both the Hebrew scriptures and the New Testament, teaching us to move beyond translation into the original languages and cultural context that shape the biblical witness. Dr. Holly taught us to embrace a theological framework that systematizes God's design for creation, teaching our congregations to appreciate diversity, practice stewardship, and pursue ecological conversions that glorify God. Well, Payne fortified my foundation. Equally transformative was the pressure Dr. Jamal Bryant applied to our ministry at Impact as we become doctors of the faith. He demanded we become prolific voices in the church, scholars who could critically analyze community activism and the Black church's prophetic witness. From participating in the Target Fast to writing social justice related reactions to real life stories impacting and requiring the church to activate and respond, including responding to Donald Trump Jr.'s inaugural speech, I chose to integrate conviction with action that represents the God I serve. But it was Dr. Teresa Fry Brown's definition of mentorship encountered while writing my theoretical foundations paper that shifted my sight entirely. She wrote that mentors are individuals, groups, institutions, books, movies, songs, any source that guides, teaches, and sustains us. Effective mentors savor their work, strive for excellence, and know their limitations and learn while they instruct. They teach by precept and example. They know when to speak and when to listen, when to take their hands away so you can stand alone, and how to stand in the shadows and let you shine. Dr. Carrie Bryant continues to give us a diverse community of mentors. Dr. Kalita Forms taught me when the head hurts, that I cannot expect God to give me God's mind if I'm determined everything be birthed from mine. Alencia Johnson showed me in Flip the Tables that women leaders of color gain everything when the tables reflects all of our identities, shifting inclusion, from clarity to strategic, spiritual, and communal necessity. From Rena Lee to Dr. Prathia Hall, Polly Murray, Katie Cannon, Bishop Jacqueline McCullough, and Bishop Vashti Murphy McKenzie, I discovered expansive expressions of womanism. Mitzi Smith, I Found God in Me, confirmed that Black women's voices are not peripheral. They are central theological witnesses. Leaving us out impoverishes the church. Dr. Carrie Bryant, Dr. Jamal Bryant, and Dr. Donnell Moore didn't just welcome me into the program. They held a mirror and refused to let me look away. In that reflection, I saw three things I could not see alone. First, they revealed my voice as a systems theologian, not just as an educator turned pastor. Remember when Dr. Owens dismantled theology, when Dr. Evans exposed how the church fathers engendered salvation, when Dr. Harris pushed behind the biblical text into Hebrew and Greek, and when Dr. Holly handed us a theological framework for stewardship? Well, my mentors watched how I processed that rigor. They saw me build frameworks, connect organizational psychology to ecclesiology, trace policy implications through biblical mandates, and they named it. Karen, you don't just apply theology, you think systemically about how God orders creation, community, and transformation. I had been doing this work for 25 years without theological language. They gave me the vocabulary and the authority to claim it. Second, they ushered me into a womanist intellectual tradition that makes space for my distinctiveness. Remember when I shared growing up in the Baptist tradition and I had few opportunities to lead beyond women's ministry or Christian education? I respected those lanes, but I knew my calling was unique. What I didn't know was that my uniqueness had a genealogy. You see, through Dr. Carey's curation of socially conscious Black female theologians and womanist scholars like Forbes, Johnson Lee, Hall, Murray, Cannon, McCullough, and McKenzie, I learned that Black women have always led from the margins, always integrated sacred and secular, and always refused compartmentalization. Smith's I Found God in Me became my manifesto. Black women's theological voices are not peripheral, and leaving us behind truly impoverishes the Black church. My mentors didn't just introduce me to these women, they positioned me as their inheritor. Third, calling to mind the permission that it gave me to merge data and devotion without apology. You see, I came to Payne carrying a doctorate in education with a specialization in special education leadership, managing a $100 million ed tech portfolio, fluent in implementation science and state policy. But I feared rigor would be read as secular contamination and that my love of metrics would mark me as unspiritual. My mentors sanctified the integration. You see, when Dr. Carey, prayer warrior and intercessor, brought us into the brutal reality of the DEI rollbacks, confronting us with 300,000 Black women cast aside, their livelihoods threatened, their dignity under siege, she demanded we move from prayer to advocacy. From intercession to action on behalf of our sisters. She modeled the both and theory, petition and policy, warfare in the spirit and warfare in the streets. My mentors didn't tolerate my whole self, they required it. So, what does a pain-formed, cohort refined Karen Bradford do with this second touch? I build solutions in ministry and in marketplace. Through Rofi Circle, I create authentic belonging for Black women in ministry navigating isolation. I train and equip school administrators nationwide and thousands of teachers in Prince George's County, the nation's largest majority Black district, on how to make data-based decisions that impact teaching and learning. And I designed Seeded ED is a patent pending reading ecosystem serving as liberation pedagogy for Black students and families, teaching foundational phonological skills that unlock literacy deployed in churches, communities, and homes where traditional approaches fall short. I came to Payne seeking fluency in theology to match my fluency in educational leadership, but I will leave with a prophetic mandate. And now I understand what Dr. Teresa Fry Brown meant in a deeper way. Receiving mentorship creates the obligation to extend it, not as a new calling, but as a refined craft. My doctoral ministry degree will not be a credential, but a covenant. A covenant to see others clearly when their vision is still partial. A covenant to name gifts before people have language for them. A covenant to build tables where data and devotion, policy and prophecy, strategy and spirit sit side by side because the kingdom needs all of it. I see clearly now, and I will spend the rest of my life giving others that second touch in ministry and in marketplace, from the pulpit and the community at the perfecting place to the literacy tables where our children learn to read themselves into liberation. Because our children's brilliance was never the question, access was. Thank you.